That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once go
potential. Jay was more quiet. But I mean, I learned that Jay was being quiet because he was taking notes. He was taking notes, observing everything, taking it all in, because, sometimes you're around and you're watching to see things to do. But some people are around.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him.
Okay, damn. All right, I didn't know what.
Is he this gangster that behind the scenes is that him or is that people
Shout
running?
out to Wendy Williams.
But tell me, man, why do you believe that Jay and Puffy is close, even though Jay lawyer came out and said they're not?
Because Jay-Z and Puff was given an assignment.
And all these freak-offs with him, and he sounds really pissed off.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm going to be, nah, you'll have a rude way.
Shakur. Just hearing the name makes the internet buckle under pressure. But this week, the shockwaves aren't just loud, they're nuclear. For almost 30 years, the world believed he was gone forever, a victim of that infamous Vegas drive-by, immortalized as the ultimate martyr of the East Coast versus West Coast war. And yet suddenly, social media is melting down with one story. Shakur isn't just alive, he's back, furious, and aiming straight at Jay-Z and Diddy's empires. Hashtags like Shakur exposes Jay-Z and Diddy panics aren't just trending, they're swallowing the internet whole. These claims are outpacing election scandals, celebrity divorces, even Hollywood meltdowns. The brutal question everyone is whispering: could this be the most explosive comeback in music history? Online chaos is spreading like wildfire. Shaky clips, grainy screenshots, alleged sightings of a man in Havana puffing cigars and strolling like he owns the block. Old conspiracy videos are back in circulation, while fans dissect every word of supposed bodyguard confessions and the phrase that keeps bouncing around. He didn't just come back to rap, he came back for revenge. For years, whispers claimed his death was really a calculated exile, protected in Cuba by political allies, building a case against his enemies, gathering receipts the world never saw. Fans who grew up on Machiavelli are convinced this wasn't tragedy, this was strategy. And then there's Diddy's so-called legacy, the empire he's been polishing for decades, now hanging by a thread. Whispers about Shakur's alleged fatality memoir float around the industry like poison, a forbidden manuscript hidden deep in Cuban vaults. Insiders swear it names names, spills conspiracies, maps out betrayals, and even points directly at the people who cashed in on his so-called disappearance. If that book is real, it won't just rewrite history, it'll blow it apart. We're talking about a manuscript that allegedly doesn't stop at vague accusations, but details, step by step, who did what on that bloody night in Vegas, and how the cover-up played out afterward. The tension right now is unbearable. What secrets are in those pages? And why are Jay-Z and Diddy, two of hip-hop's richest moguls, suddenly moving like men desperate to bury the truth? But then comes a second bombshell, darker, heavier, and far more dangerous than any hidden book. For years, whispers about unreleased tapes Shakur recorded before 1996 have refused to die. Now the rumor is deafening. These aren't lost verses or half-finished freestyles. These are said to be private recordings, conversations where Jay-Z and Diddy themselves were allegedly caught admitting to corruption, violence, and cover-ups so big they'd make Watergate look like child's play. Overnight, everything could implode. Picture Jay-Z, the hustler who once bragged, "To be in a deal, you need to know what you can spend, what you need to re-up." Suddenly hearing his own voice from decades ago echoing in courtrooms and blaring on every news broadcast. And imagine Diddy, already buried under lawsuits and headlines, now being tied not just to wild parties, but to hip-hop's darkest unsolved mystery, the night Shakur was shot. The timing couldn't be worse. Jay-Z's carefully built image, from Brooklyn's crack-slinging teenager to billionaire visionary of a luxury green empire, is unraveling fast. The man who launched his wellness venture, preaching dignity, consistency, and care, might soon have his past dragged out, as proof of deals greased with shady moves instead of redemption. And it's not just critics circling, rivals smell blood. 50 Cent wasted no time clowning Jay-Z's ties to Diddy, posting "Friends to the end. Jay, are you still there?" while dropping references to explosions and intimidation tactics. Social media ate it up. What once looked like loyalty now looks like liability, and fans aren't letting Jay live it down. Meanwhile, Diddy's so-called empire is rotting from the inside out. Once the king of bad boy records, now he's the defendant in federal indictments, accused of racketeering, trafficking, coercion, the kind of charges that leave even hardened courtroom vets shaking their heads. If prosecutors are already comparing Diddy's world to Jeffrey Epstein's, then imagine the bombshell if Shakur really kept tapes proving Diddy's hand in violence, cover-ups, and worse. The industry wouldn't just tremble. It would shake itself apart. And here's where the conspiracies start weaving into something darker. TikTok theorists are running wild, linking Jay-Z, Diddy, and even Beyonce into chilling patterns. They point out that Aaliyah, Left Eye, and Michael Jackson all passed on the 25th of different months. Is it just coincidence or some twisted ritual? Clips of Adele breaking trophies to honor Beyonce get recirculated, with fans claiming it wasn't just admiration but allegiance to a secret network. The evidence may be flimsy, but the virality, unstoppable. Now add in whispers of Shakur's hidden tapes, and suddenly the unthinkable feels possible. If he really staged his own exit, lived under Castro's protection in Cuba, and is now ready to drop receipts, then who's to say the rest of the puzzle pieces aren't linked? The tension keeps climbing with every leaked document. In one secretly recorded police interview, Diddy's name was mentioned 47 times in connection to Shaker's 1996 drive-by. Keefe D, the Southside Crip, now awaiting trial, even claimed Diddy once offered millions for the heads of both Shakur and Suge Knight. We're staring at an industry where the walls are collapsing fast. Jay-Z, who once told Vanity Fair he sold crack just to buy clothes and survive, now finds himself battling whispers of far darker past deeds. Diddy, the man who turned Ciroc-fueled parties and glossy luxury ads into a billion-dollar empire, now faces a future that experts warn could end in life behind bars. And looming above them both, like a ghost who refuses to stay buried, is Shakur. Flesh and blood are myth made real, armed with memoirs, tapes, and truths that could topple everything. Is he back to settle the ultimate score? And if so, will the entire music industry survive the fallout? But why would Shakur disappear in the first place? For decades, the official story was simple. His fate was sealed on the Vegas Strip. Yet those who followed the trail insist that ending was nothing more than camouflage. Whispers claim powerful men wanted him gone, and the only way out was to fake his own exit and vanish into the shadows. Former security operatives speak of midnight flights to the Caribbean, of Castro himself offering Shakur safe haven in Havana, and of body doubles used to seal the illusion. If those stories are true, then Shakur didn't just survive. He pulled off the boldest and most dangerous play in music history. The spotlight sharpens on the rivalry that once split hip-hop in half. Everyone remembers Shakur versus Biggie, East Coast versus West Coast, but buried beneath those headlines was another rivalry, one that hits different today. Back then, Jay-Z was just a Brooklyn hustler selling tapes out of car trunks, stepping into the game at the very moment Shakur stood at his peak. And then, within months of Shakur's supposed death, Jay-Z's career began to skyrocket. The runway was suddenly clear. His debut album dropped in 1996, the very same year Shakur disappeared. Within a decade, Jay-Z wasn't just a rapper, he was running an empire, which raises the question that keeps conspiracy boards buzzing. Was Shakur's fall the ultimate chess move, clearing the board for Jay-Z's rise? Or was it nothing more than brutal luck? One man buried, another man crowned. We can't ignore Jay-Z's own words. He once explained, "To be in a deal, you need to know what you can spend, what you need to re-up, and at some point, you need an exit strategy." He was talking about the street hustle, but conspiracy theorists argue it sounds like more than just metaphor. It sounds like the playbook of someone who understood that the real battlefield was bigger than blocks and corners. When you line up the timing, the feuds, and the eerie silence that followed Shakur's vanishing act, the puzzle pieces feel like they're snapping into place, and the picture they form is chilling. He's accused of throwing parties fueled by coercion, manipulation, and control. Prosecutors flat out claim Diddy turned his record label into a criminal enterprise. His trial has already revealed vanishing witnesses, sealed NDAs, and recordings snatched up in federal raids. Now he faces charges so heavy they could lock him away for life. And in this fragile state, the last thing he needs is a ghost from the past, especially one carrying proof that he played a role in erasing Shakur. Signs of panic are everywhere. His social media presence? Dead silent. The once bragging mogul has shrunk into shadows. Behind closed doors, his legal team is drowning the court in motions and paperwork, trying to smother the flames. But desperation slips through the cracks, especially when 50 Cent clowns him online, and when artists whisper that linking with Diddy is now poison. The empire looks like it's crumbling in real time. And if Shakur really has resurfaced with memoirs and tapes, then Diddy's nightmare has only just begun. The timing couldn't be worse. The past is colliding with the present. Rumors are sharpening into accusations that could finally bury him once and for all. Think of the irony. Diddy has been linked for years in police files and documentaries to Shakur's Vegas shooting, even accused by insiders of offering millions for the hit. He brushed it all off as fantasy. But now, with Shakur allegedly alive and preparing to speak, those fantasies sound more like prophecy. In music, the stakes go way beyond personal beefs. If Shakur really holds memoirs and tapes tying Jay-Z and Diddy to corruption, then the fallout won't stop with them. It could rip apart the entire system. Record labels, executives, even global icons tied by money and friendship could get dragged down. TikTok sleuths are already spinning webs that connect Beyoncé to strange patterns, pointing to the eerie timing of Aaliyah, Left Eye, and Michael Jackson's deaths. To some, it's coincidence. But to conspiracy theorists, it screams of a machine willing to sacrifice anyone to protect its chosen few. And if Shakur is back to rip the mask off that machine, then every superstar who built their empire under its shadow suddenly looks vulnerable. This might not just be about revenge. Shakur was always more than a rapper. He was a thinker, a strategist, a man who studied Machiavelli and mastered the art of illusion. Maybe faking his death wasn't just about survival. Maybe it was about buying time until the moment was right. Maybe this is about tearing back the curtain and showing fans that the rivalries, the glory, the chosen kings were nothing but lies crafted in boardrooms and signed in silence. Shakur, the same man who fearlessly called out corruption, even at the height of his fame, may now be stepping into the role of the figure, bold enough to tear the entire system down from the inside. His survival wouldn't just make him a symbol of resilience. It would crown him as the face of rebellion itself. Exploitation of artists is nothing new. Hip-hop is littered with careers cut short by shady contracts and manipulative execs. Young talents, hungry for a shot, get lured by flashy advances only to be locked into deals that drain their profits and leave them broke while the labels cash in. Entire catalogs have been sold without artists' consent. Those who spoke out, silenced, blacklisted, erased. Shakur was one of the few who warned us in his lyrics and interviews, exposing a culture of control. And if he's back now with evidence, it could confirm what generations of artists suspected all along. The industry was rigged. This could also explain why Shakur vanished for so long. Beyond saving his own life, hiding in Cuba or elsewhere might have given him decades to gather intelligence, track the corruption, and connect the dots across eras. Imagine the weight of 30 years of files, testimonies, and recordings, all aimed at proving the music empire was built on exploitation. That kind of arsenal wouldn't just take down a few moguls. It could put the entire recording industry under fire, from major labels to streaming giants. He wouldn't just be a comeback story. He'd be the ultimate revolutionary elder, lending weight, credibility, and urgency to a fight that younger artists are already waging. His presence could take scattered protests and fuse them into a full-on rebellion against the machine that's chewed up so many before. In this light, the story isn't just about revenge or even justice for one man. It's about the showdown between an entrenched system of wealth and secrecy and the voices of creators demanding freedom. Shakur's alleged return could be the rallying cry, the spark that ignites a cultural reckoning unlike anything since the civil rights era's collision with music. If that's the true purpose behind his comeback, then what lies ahead isn't just scandal, it's revolution. And the world will have to decide if it's ready for the music industry's deepest secrets to finally be dragged into the light. We stand on the edge of something far bigger than any past scandal. Jay-Z, the billionaire mogul, could be forced to answer haunting questions about what doors mysteriously opened for him in the late 90s. Diddy, already battling for his life in court, could see his empire crushed by the reappearance of the one man he most feared. And Shakur, if this really is him, could hold in his hands the power to burn the entire system to ashes? What if this isn't just a comeback? What if this is the reckoning? The one hip-hop never wanted, but maybe always deserved. So here's the question we leave you with. If Shakur is truly back, is he here to settle old scores? Or to expose an industry built on betrayal, secrecy, and blood? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Because this story, it's nowhere near over. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, truth always comes out when we least expect it.